Hey, Mercy Hill. Pastor David here from the Edgefield Road campus. We praise God for what we saw this past weekend at our Christmas services. 11 services across all 3 campuses. We saw God move in power, lives changed. It was just amazing. And we praise God for what He's doing in our church. This weekend, we're not going to meet together. We're wanting to have everyone to have a chance to rest, our leaders, people that are pouring in through Christmas. But we want to make sure that you had something as you get together and worship, friends and family. So we have a video for you. Our campus pastors came together wanting to help you as we celebrate 2018, thinking ahead to 2019. We're going to have some resources on our website, 1 page for adults, 1 page for kids. We're talking about prayer, Bible study, ways that you can think and make sure that 2019 is the best year yet. We hope this is a blessing, and Happy New Year. Guys, I'm so glad we're able to be here, to be able to talk about what God has done the last year, looking ahead. We've seen God do some amazing things, and so it's cool for us to be able to have this chance to talk. I'm here with Pastor Gary from Clifton Road, Pastor Rocky at Regional Road, Pastor Eugene, going to be our new High Point campus pastor. One of the things that's really cool, we think about what God has done. We want to be leaders that challenge each other and then challenge our congregation as a whole, thinking about what God has done and what He's going to do. When you guys think about 2018, how God has moved, how we have seen Him be so faithful, what are some of the things that you found yourself rejoicing over and what you're excited about celebrating this past year?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because I look back over 2018. There's so much that I could just say, man, God's moving there, God's moving here. But there were some specific things that I was praying for as far as for our church, specifically for our campus, and then also for even for myself and my household personally. So and I've just seen God just answering in so many ways. Just for our church, that God would just keep us focused on His mission. And that's really just a big, you think to yourself that's just a general thing, but that's something that you just want to be diligent in. And something that I do feel like I have been diligent. Lord, just keep us focused on what your mission is, what your purposes are. Lead us to fulfill those things. As far as our campus, I think of wanting to make sure that at Clifton Road we have a culture of sending and a mindset of sending. And I think of the fact that when we started this year, we were looking towards launching Edgefield campus, and obviously we got it launched. I mean, here you are here, but there was so many people who were a part of Clifton Road that ended up becoming a part of Edgefield, and I think that the reason why that was because they were thinking to themselves that, man, this is going to be a way that we can go and we can be used of God. We can go and we can be a part of something that God is doing over at Edgefield, and to know that we got Eugene coming on board, and I'm just talking about just like last week. I just know there's so many people who've come up to me and said that, man, I desire to become a part of the High Point campus for whatever reason, whether it was because they live near there or whether it's because of people that they know in that area, and I'm thinking to myself, man, Lord God, give us more of a desire to see people leave Clifton and actually go and be a part of something that God is doing elsewhere. And I think that God has certainly shown to be faithful in responding to that request. Then also personally, I just think, man, I was praying for my wife, specifically praying for my family, my son specifically, that our devotion to the Lord would grow and increase. And man, I tell you, I've seen God just work so fast. Like, I've seen my wife grow in ways that are just beyond what I could even possibly think or imagine myself. And I think it happened because I was getting out of the way. In all honesty, like I just got out of the way and just trusted the Lord to give her a greater desire for Him. And I've seen that. So spiritual health of my family has grown. The physical aspect of health of my family has been faithful. God has been faithful in that. So I'm just thankful to see all of those things. So.
Yeah, I think for us, my wife and I, my family and I, we didn't come to Mercy Hill till the middle of this, last year in 2018, and we started a prayer campaign in our own family the year prior, and we saw God just answered that prayer in such a meaningful way by bringing us to Mercy Hill so we could be part of the family here. And God has been so kind to us through that. And then when we're now here and seeing the church be so white hot with love for God and on mission, that's been something that has just been fueled our own desire for that same mission as well. And we've loved being part of what God is doing here at Mercy Hill. And right here at the regional campus, we've seen people that have been prayed for to come to faith. They've been baptized and are now living on gospel mission. And we've gotten to witness many of that right here. And even people that we've been praying for since we've gotten here. And so that's just been a wonderful thing for us to be a part of. And we couldn't be more thrilled to be part of what God's doing here, and we're looking forward to what he's going to do in 2019.
So echoing what these guys have said, for me personally, being on staff for going on 3 weeks now, thinking back to the beginning of 2018, part of our prayer as a family was just, for God to use us as instruments, however he saw fit, to, open up avenues and ways that we can contribute to the mission of God. And, sometimes that was a little scary praying that, just, not knowing, how that would shake out. But, you fast forward to, the last month of 2018, I'm here on staff at Mercy Hill, and, we're preparing to launch a new High Point campus. So we're very excited for how God is propelling us into 2019.
That's cool. For myself, I think back, Gary mentioned, when we were preparing to launch Edgefield, we saw Edgefield launch. We saw some just amazing things God did in changing lives, in baptisms, and what he has done in this past year. Our kids ministry, Route 56. I mean, it's just been amazing to see families changed, healed, chains broken. And then even for our own family, how God provided a house that was close to that area for us to continue to plug in and just to plug into the community, where we're hoping to minister. And so, man, he's just been so faithful. So when we think about celebrating 2018, we want to be men that lead well, right? We want to be men that are leading others well, our families well. But before we can do that, we have to lead ourselves well. So when you guys think about Bible study, you think of prayer, you think of planning, being prepared, going into 2019, what are some ways that you see, that you use, or that maybe you have planned to use, maybe things you've used in the past, tools, and how we can encourage each other, how we can encourage our church in that?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think that what I've noticed about myself, if I can answer that question in this way, is in order for me to really do what I think the Bible calls us to, which is discipline ourselves for the purpose of godliness. In order for me to be disciplined in pursuing habits of pursuing God's word and reading God's word, and then also being in regular prayer and just doing regular spiritual disciplines. In order for me to be disciplined in that, I've got to really simplify it and make it very, very simple. Because if it becomes complex, I won't do it. If there's anything that is pulling on me as far as a time constraint or something that's going on, like it's the more complex something is, the more likely I'm going to pull away from it. And so I think I'm trying to make my devotion life like something that is simple, something that's consistent, that I can be consistent with, because then that leads to discipline for me. So for me, it really is just, man, having a very simple Bible reading plan that is on an app on my phone that is going to basically script out the year for me, and is going to keep me with knowing exactly what's coming up today as far as reading a few chapters in God's word, and then really considering what's meaningful from that, and doing as best as I can to apply what may be meaningful from that to my life, so that I can grow and not just be hearing the word but also doing the word as well. So that's kind of something that's really helped me. It's just a really, really simple app that I use to be able to just have a Bible reading plan, and I aim to complete that each day. So that's for me.
I think it's important, just adding on to that, not to get down on yourself. If you miss a day or you miss a couple days, just continue to know that, as you continually get into the word and, make that your priority, you can continue to move forward. I think sometimes it's, I've been in a position where, I've started a Bible plan and, I'm good for about 3 weeks, and then, life happens and you miss a day or two. And, it can allow you to get paralyzed, to stop thinking, about what you missed, but, thinking along those lines of just being simple, consistent, but also to make sure you're continuing to move forward and knowing that, God's grace, His mercy is new every day, and you can continue to just make that top priority.
Yeah, along with what these guys are saying, discipline and that is absolutely key. We've got to have that consistency Gary's talking about, and then also the grace to kind of pick up where we left off if you kind of got off track. But another thing too I've been thinking about is just the goal, that we got to have a rightly aligned goal for what we're doing with our spiritual disciplines and why, because a lot of times they can be short-sighted. If we're kind of looking at the goal is to grow spiritually, or if our goal is simply just to read the Bible more this year, pray more, those are great goals. We want to do those things, we want to grow spiritually, but when we view reading our Bible and praying and those kinds of things through the lens of that we were created to worship God and glorify Him in the same spirit of 1 Corinthians 10:31, which is in everything that we do, when we view our life as to worship and glorify Him, then and we view reading our Bible and praying through that lens, it really fuels habits that will endure and last, and they become virtues over time. And so a rightly aligned goal I think is also crucial to what we're doing and why we're doing it.
That's good. That's good. I know we shared some tools. We shared the Bible app. I've used Bible reading tools, McShane. I've used that study plan, reading through the Bible. You do that in 1 or 2 years, and I think the consistency that you guys mentioned. The consistency is what's there. We may fail. We're not perfect, and we got to be careful not to get down on ourselves. Because there's not a legalistic thing that Jesus is going to come and look at us in that day and say, wait a second, you missed today. No, I mean, hopefully our desire for Him is born out of the change that has happened in us. And we want to continue to fuel that.
Yeah, and you bring that up, and it's almost like I almost have to get in my mind that I already know that my Bible plan is going to say I've got missed days, and be okay with that. And really recognize that, man, yeah, it says I got missed days, yet I'm about to get into the Word today. And I think that's kind of where my attitude has to become, because I don't think I've ever started a Bible reading plan and hit every single day on the day that it came. I had to do some catching up at least, if I wasn't really, really far behind, to the point where I just said, well, I know I'm really, really far behind, but I'm gonna do what today's devotion is. And I think not only is that okay, but I think that is something that you have to really recognize, man. If you allow this to become a burden, recognize it's not devotion. it's not growth, and I wouldn't want to put that on myself or anybody else. So.
Yeah, and then going back to something too that Gary said, he quoted 1 Timothy 4:7, discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. There's this discipline to it, and we see Paul using that language of disciplining ourselves for the purpose of godliness, that we would glorify God. And so then as we discipline ourselves, as we are continuing to read our Bible every day and pray every day, then that in itself cultivates more desire for that, and it perpetuates. And so that's how it ends up, over time becoming virtue, and then and giving us more desire for that. And so, if I always would challenge guys, to read their Bible for 30 days, and at the end of the 30 days, read their Bible for 30 more days, and then at the end of that 30 days, read your Bible for 30 more days, and then by 3 months, you've sort of cultivated more of a habit. And so those are the things that sort of build on each other. And so, but like what these guys say as well, just pick back up where you left off, if you do get off track.
So how do you, when you're wanting to lead yourself well, that's the beginning point for you to be able to lead others. I mean, that you cannot lead someone else if you're not leading yourself, if you're not allowing Christ to be the focus of where you need to be of your own life. So when you think about leading your family, for your wife and your kids, how do you bring them into that when you're wanting to do that, your Bible reading plan, your prayer time, all of those things? How do you bring them into that?
I think it's important to be intentional about it. Like you said, just understanding what I'm getting into in terms of the Word and my prayer time, and being intentional about bringing my wife and my daughter in on that, and making sure even with that's something that's done daily. whether it's, like for instance, with my daughter, it's at bedtime. We read a story. Right now we're doing an Advent calendar. So, we have a certain scripture set that we have. After that, we're coloring ornaments, and we're talking about the word. We're praying before she goes to bed. So that's something that we do as a family, and something that we make it a point to be intentional about. Very strategic.
Yeah, I mean, picking right back up with what Eugene was saying, like I'm really trying to share with her what I'm doing, and then asking her, my wife, what are you doing? And just trying to make sure that we know that one another that we are actually going to be devoted to God's word in our own way, but then also in a way to where we're going to be able to share with one another kind of what it is that we are having God say to us through His word, and then following up with those things as well. And then as far as like bringing our son Titus in, it's very similar to what Eugene was saying. Like, we do it at breakfast for us. Like the morning time, the breakfast meal is really where as soon as I get through heating up the breakfast that Joy cooked for us, then it really just becomes me sitting down at the table. He's already thinking like what story are we going to read, Daddy? That type of thing. So we're just reading like a Jesus Storybook Bible or Big Picture interactive Bible. We're just reading a story out of that, and that's been something that's really kind of led us. But then also like if I were wanting to invite someone else in, like that, it would be the same thing. I would share with them what it is that I'm doing and ask them what are they doing. And if they're telling me that they're not doing anything, then I would encourage them to consider something that either I've done in the past or something that I'm doing now, and try to walk alongside them in that. So
Yeah, that's key. One of the things I think that's important for us as men, to lead that in our families. What these men are saying, and so it's important for us to take the leadership role in that and start that in our homes for those of us who are married, and then just take the initiative with that as well. For us, our family is we try to do it at dinner time, but the way that our life runs right now, I'm not at home, every night for dinner. We're not at home, at the same time. So we do the best we can. I was actually really freed by one of the things that one of our elders said in my church in Raleigh, who actually was one of the professors at our seminary, and he said, we've started family devotions in our house 42 times. And so that was something that really kind of freed us up, as we thought about that, and that, we do the best that we can, and it's something that we do need to cultivate and initiate as men in our families and lead that. But there's room, if you miss, you can kind of pick back up where you left off. But one of the things we do, we try to do it around dinner time, and we've kind of done some things like what Gary said. We read a Bible story. We try to have some conversation at our dinner table. But then one thing that we've done that we've really, really liked, and we've kind of taken on as a family, and we made it sort of a game, is we use New City Catechism, and there's an app for it, for phones and for iPads and things, and you can just walk through, questions and answers about God and Jesus and Holy Spirit and theological foundations, and even our 4-year-old is doing it now, and he loves it. Our daughter loves it, and so we've kind of made that part of our dinner time, and we're just kind of working through that, and we've added some songs and things along the way too, but we try to make that intentional, and it's really done wonders for our family. Just sort of what our goal is, to turn our eyes towards Christ and have a gospel-centered family, and those are some tools we've used to help.
That's awesome, and those are all awesome suggestions, great suggestions. And I want to piggyback a little bit about one of the things you said, Gary, that I think we need to acknowledge as, we are married and have kids, and, so many in our church may be single or single again, or single parents, and, what you brought out, the issue is, again, for us to lead others well, we have to lead ourselves well. We have to be in a place of wanting to cultivate growth, wanting to see God doing something in us so that we can ask someone else to come alongside, and we can invite them in. And it doesn't matter what stage of life we may be in, and that can happen. We get in an intentional relationship, this discipleship, this apprentice kind of mindset, and that was so much of what Jesus did, having people walk alongside him. But it was intentional. It wasn't haphazard. It wasn't, hey, I'll see you in 3 weeks. There was intentionality in it that man, I'm going to invite you into my life. And then I'm going to tell you what God's been teaching me. Won't you tell me what God's been teaching you? And you can do that whether you're in high school or, you're maybe in your 70s or 80s. It doesn't matter what stage of life, what age you may be. You can be in a process of doing that. And I think that's something that we all can be challenged in, no matter where we may be in life. Man, this has been good, guys. Thinking about 2019, okay? We've been praising God, recently going through the story unfolding, praising Him for what He's done, thinking ahead into next year. There have been some really big requests. We just went through our cards that we put on the tables, this past weekend, and wanting to say, okay, God is big enough to do what? What is it for y'all when you think about for your personal life, for your family, for your campus? What's driving you going into 2019?
I just want to tell you, like, something that has been a burning desire throughout 2018, and I mean even before then, but now it seems like it's just really, really kind of hit me, is just really focusing on the thought of making disciples that. See, it's not finished yet. See, you thought I was done.
I was like, praise the Lord.
That make disciples, though, and I think that is what has really just been burdening me, in all honesty. And I think it's a good burden, but I think it's something that I've really been praying for. And I think that those are the things that's one of the big things that I'm asking God for, is that within the context of specifically of Mercy Hill community groups, that God would make disciples that make disciples, and that would happen through not just me, but other leaders raising up disciples with the mindset of them going on to be those who would raise disciples. So I think that I'm praying that's a really, really big prayer of mine. Another, even to the point where I'm putting a number on it. I'm hoping that God would raise up 50 new leaders over the next year. I'm praying and asking Him to do that. I trust that He can. 50 new leaders, not current ones, but new apprentice leaders who are aiming to make disciples. So I'm praying that personally as myself for our church. The other thing is that that we would have more volunteers that would commit to going into the jails to minister throughout Greensboro and High Point. I know that we have some right now, but I would just love to see God just do a work. There is such opportunity to go and to feed people who are starving for the gospel in the jails. And I think that if we are a church who believes in the gospel, which we are, obviously, then I think that is an obvious place where we can go and we can actually be those who feed. So those are a couple of big things that I'm praying for.
Yeah, along those same lines, we have some similar prayers, and we've been talking about this with our campus team over the last several weeks. And, as we ended a really powerful 30 days of prayer, in November, as we look ahead, we've been praying for that God would raise up new leaders as well, as we get ready to launch High Point, and we're so excited about that. One of the things that we've kind of focused on for our campus would be that God would give us that we would have dependence upon Him, reliance upon Him in all things and in every way. And so that's kind of what we emphasize through that 30 days of prayer, a more dependence upon God. And so that's one thing we're praying for our campus as well. And then, for us personally as a family, we're asking God for some big things, for our neighborhood. We have neighbors, we have people in our community who we're praying for, by name and engaging with and desiring to see that they come to know the Lord. And so we're praying for God to do things that only He can do.
So thinking about the High Point campus, thinking about the impact that it will have in the community of High Point. So, thinking about kids, family units, just the city in general being impacted and just completely turned over by the gospel. So, thinking about our first service, wanting it to be full, both services being full, and people coming to Christ, people making decisions to, get baptized during those first services. So that's a big one. Personally, for my wife, my daughter, as we're in this transition, just for us just to continue to focus on Christ. We know that there will be some attack, because, Satan doesn't like us where we're moving towards, how God is using us in this time. So just personally for us in that, and just, we have family members, similar to you and your community. There's some family members who we, just praying for their salvation, and just know that God is moving, He's working, and we're expecting to see great things in 2019.
That's awesome. I know for myself, praying for my family, that God would be moving and that we would be united, that there would be growth spiritually, my wife and I and our kids, that there would be desire for Him, for His word. I know I'm praying that for myself as, we go through seasons at different times, but that's, for me, that has been a specific request of a desire like I never have for His word, and just to continue to dive in and be immersed in His word, and for our campus to see growth throughout the Northwest community, Northwest Greensboro, people that are far from God just being able to come in. Originally when we before we even launched as a campus team, we were praying for 150 in our first service and 250 in our second. And we've been consistently to 150 recently, and we're just praying for that for second service to be over 250, and just to see more people come in that need to hear who Jesus is. It's exciting what God is doing. JD mentioned this back in October. What He's doing at Mercy Hill is unique. We should never take it for granted. And what we want to do, and hopefully what we'll do as we're shepherding our campuses, is help people realize God's hand is on our church. We don't know how long that may be, but while it is, and while He's moving, we need to do everything we can to see the kingdom advance, to see lives changed, families healed, to see people in the prison understand the grace of who Jesus is. We would talk about community ministry and making an impact in areas that there's going to be growth in that in 2019 in our church and in different areas throughout the Triad. So, we're praying for big things. We know our Tampa, there's going to be New City Church in Tampa. People are going to be going, moving their lives to Tampa, and we're just praying for cultivating that same mindset throughout our church. All campuses where people are saying, "Man, I got open hands, and I'm ready and willing to go. I'm really ready and willing to do whatever I need to do." So, man, it's been good, guys. Pastor Gray, would you pray for us as we close?
Absolutely, be my honor. Y'all, let's pray, fellas. Father, we thank You for the opportunity You've given us to be called Your children. And then also, Lord, on top of that, the opportunity You've given us to be those who serve Your church. Lord, thank You for the church. Thank You for the people that, Lord, who have come around us, Lord, to worship You. And Lord, I pray that You would, Lord, just grow us and change us by the power of Your Spirit and the authority of Your word. Lord, to be changed into the likeness of Your Son. Lord, keep Your mission at the forefront of our minds. And Lord, I pray that, Lord, this would be all for Your glory and not ours. Father, I thank You for these men. Lord, I pray for their lives. I pray for their families. I pray, Lord, for their households. I ask You, Father, to Lord, keep them close to what Your purpose and Your intent is for their lives. And Lord, I pray that, Lord, You would ignite their ministries, Lord, as they continue to serve and to aim to honor You. Lord, I pray the same thing for me and all of the elders of Mercy Hill Church as well. Lord, I also pray for the people of Mercy Hill. I ask You, Father, to Lord, make 2019 a year where they think about kingdom advance more than anything. Lord, make 2019 the year where they recognize that if they aren't living for Your kingdom, they may not really be living. Father, I pray, Lord, that You would do these things for the purpose of advancing Your kingdom and for the purpose of You receiving all glory and all praise according to, Lord, Your intent and Your mission. I pray these things in the mighty name of Your Son, Jesus. Amen.